morning, guys. So I got up this morning so I could plant a few things, and I'm pretty positive we have rain on the way. I'm gonna see if I can get a few of these things done before rain comes. It looks like it might be fizzling out, so we'll see. This tomato plant's getting pulled out. It's not doing well. I'm not fully positive on what could be going on with this plant, but I'm thinking I may have had some type of herbicide drift go on in this garden. There's a few pockets that I feel like herbicide drift happened. I did witness a few neighbors spraying Roundup on a very, 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 very windy day about, I want to say 6-8 weeks ago, when these plants were all pretty small. This one has not grown out of whatever funkiness is going on. So we're just gonna go ahead and pull it. It's not even really producing fruit. This one right here has produced so much fruit, and this one has only produced some really wonky looking fruit that isn't maturing. It's just rotting. So you know what? I'm just gonna pull it. It makes no sense why this one plant would be doing this outside of everything else. I do have a few green beans that have some really funky leaves. I guess this isn't the only tomato. I have another tomato along the fence as well where I feel like the drift could have possibly happened, and it has not done well since that point. It did really well prior to that. Then after that point, it hasn't set fruit. It looks kind of funky as well, so I don't know. It's all a guessing game to me. There's a picture that I actually saw online that showed leaves that looked just like this when it came to herbicide drift, and you can see I do have some leaves over this trellis here that look very Along the fence line, you might be able to pick out the one tomato that is not thriving. So you can see these fruits were already set before all of that happened, and these ones weren't. You can see that these ones are very weird looking, and the plant is just not thriving. There has not been any other fruit. I was also seeing that like people will state that the plants will be very elongated, like they're searching for sun. Meanwhile, this is like the most sunny location I have, and all of the other plants are thriving. There's tons of fruit, tons of flowers. There is a little leaf curl, but again, we've been hot and humid, so that's nothing abnormal. Well, I just looked at the radar and we have a good amount of rain that's about to be here. I did not get a lot of what I wanted to get done this morning done, but that's okay. We can always come back out later on. It's just supposed to be really hot. We're supposed to be like 101 today, but with this rain early, maybe we won't get that hot. I don't know. We'll probably get humid and then really hot. So even though it's raining, I actually need to do a few things down here in the seed starting room. So it is time to start thinking about fall gardening, guys, which honestly I think is so crazy. We are already at this point. So I'm not going to be starting a lot of my cool weather crops today. I'm just going to be starting some broccoli, cabbage, and I think I'm gonna do maybe kale today. I'm gonna be starting a lot of the cool weather crops that I started at the beginning of February all right now. So I was trying to figure out my timing a little better this year. I've done a fall garden, I wanna say, for the last 4 or 5 years, and broccoli has been tricky for me to time. And when I was doing a little bit more research on my extension office, so I highly suggest going and looking up your local ag extension because they have some really good tips for your local gardening area. And when I did that, they actually had a full fall gardening timeline that I went ahead and printed out, and they actually suggest to go ahead and start your seeds inside for brassicas right now here at the end of June. So that is what I am going to do, because last year I believe I started my broccoli, I want to say mid to end of July, and I never got heads of broccoli. And I was actually trying to time out exactly how long it took me this year for the broccoli. So I started my broccoli seeds this year, I believe the second week, maybe first week of February. I ended up adding up the time frame from when I started my seed to the day I harvested my broccoli, and it was roughly 16 weeks. We are 16 and a half weeks from today from our first average frost. And one thing I like to tell you guys is typically add a week or two when it comes to this second half of the gardening season, because we are now past the summer solstice. Our days are going to be slightly getting shorter every day, so it's going to be taking things a little bit longer to mature during this second half than it would the first half. And broccoli, cabbage, things like that, they are frost tolerant. You really want to make sure your fall crops are mature by the time the daylight really lessens even more and it gets colder, because the less sunlight you have and the colder it gets, the slower things are going to grow. And if you're trying to overwinter or have some of those crops that are a little bit more frost tolerant through October and into November, maybe beginning of December, they almost need to be fully mature by the time we hit our first average frost. So today I am starting my broccoli, my cabbage, kale. I am going to do the Bell Star broccoli again. We all know that this is a tried and true favorite at this point. It does have some heat tolerance to it, so this is one that will do fairly well once we plant it in the ground come end of July, beginning to mid-August, depending on how the weather really truly is. But one thing I wanted to kind of note on this is I just stated that it took about 16 weeks from the moment I started my seed to the moment it fully headed up and I harvested it. This says 65 to 70 days, and that is roughly 10 weeks. And I noticed that that 10-week period was when I transplanted it to the moment it was fully mature. So it's one of those things where sometimes fall gardening can be a bit tricky when it comes to those date ranges, but I'm just going off of how long it has taken me in the past. I'm going to do this golden acre cabbage. I have some purple kale, nothing too crazy. I am going to be planting some more Naval carrots in the ground here probably in the next I want to say 2 to 4 weeks. I'll probably be planting some more carrots in the garden. I found this little chart pretty handy for when it came to my extension office, because they break it down from late June into early July, late July into early August, August, late August, September, and October. And they state when to start things inside, when to direct sow outside. And that is just super handy. I wish I would have found this years ago. So that is a close-up of the chart that I printed off of my extension website. You know, I want to say I have less than half a bag of potting soil, so we'll see how many soil blocks I can really make up today. This should be plenty for what I need to start today. So I'm going to pre-moisten up this soil here, and then I'm just going to make some soil blocks and start some seeds. So whenever I am soil blocking, I like to have a 10-20 tray, and I like to line it with these deep mesh trays, because this makes it very, very easy to bottom water, especially things like soil blocks. They just sit really nicely on that mesh. So I'm going to be planting out about 24 of my Bell Star broccoli here. My plan is I should have room for about 21 or so. We'll see exactly where I can place everything, but I'd rather have extras and be able to gift these to friends if need be than not have enough and have spotty germination, since we are on a time frame here. I will say this year though, I did fall in love with humidity domes when it comes to germinating seeds, simply because I had really great germination this year with using these humidity domes. In past years, I always said I never found humidity domes quite necessary, but this year I have just really fallen in love with using these for about a week. It's one of those things where you don't use them past the germination phase, but it just really helped with my germination rates this year. So I think I'm someone that likes humidity domes now. In case you were wondering, it feels like 108 outside. Currently, our humidity is terrible. Really, girls? These girls have been slacking. I've only been getting about 3 eggs a day for the last week. Oh, I don't know why I'm locking that. I need to clean this. This is why I woke up early to get this stuff done. but the weather doesn't want to cooperate. Oh my God, it's so soupy. Ooh, it is too hot. This mask is not gonna help the fact that it feels so hot. Okay, gotta take off the sunglasses. It's like all steaming. Just keeps steaming in my face. I wear a mask when doing this because of dust fly up. Don't really want chicken poop dust in my nose. All right, you girls want to get out and party? Go. What? This is that first Saturday lime stuff that I mentioned in last week's Q&A. It is a lime you can sprinkle around. I'm gonna just put it at the bottom of their coop. It helps with odor and different pests. You can also use the stuff in the garden, and it's for organic purposes. So jumping back to what I was talking about this morning with the possible herbicide drift, the fence line was right where I felt like the drift was happening. And if it did happen, it would explain why these few little pockets in this trellis area were the things that got hit. But what was happening was the fruit was super wonky. It was barely growing at that point, and these plants were thriving up until that point. After maybe like a few weeks of planting them out, and then that all happened. Just very stunted, not doing anything, wonky fruit, leaves were super thin, curling up, everything. So I went ahead and pulled that, and my aunt actually was just in Greece and she sent me these seeds, which I was so excited about because I've never been gifted seeds before. I'm normally the one gifting seeds, but she was in Greece, and a restaurant owner, she said this in her little letter to me, a restaurant owner gave her these seeds and told her that if she planted them that she would have melons by the end of the summer. So I did look up the translation because this is in Greek here. On the bottom it does say melon and watermelon seeds, and the translation simply is dehydrated watermelon and melon seeds. So I'm not exactly sure what type of melons I might get, but I think this is so fun and such a really cool surprise that I'm going to plant one here. But I love melons, and I think this is going to be really cool since I don't know what type of melon it actually is. It looks very much like a cantaloupe, like honeydew seed, and the picture on here kind of looks like a honeydew in a watermelon. So super cool. I'm very, very excited because yeah, these seeds came from Greece. So these are probably like the furthest seeds I've ever gotten. So I'm gonna plant a few right here while I'm sitting here at the trellis. And then I'm gonna get some things watered. I wanted to get some more stuff planted tonight, but honestly, it's just way too hot that I think I might just wake up earlier in the morning and get the last little bit of what I wanted to get done today, tomorrow. So we obviously didn't get enough rain this morning to really make any type of dent. It was kind of just lightly raining on and off for about 40 minutes, and it didn't do anything. So I still have to water tonight. The problem with this week is the onions are going to be coming out probably in the next few days, up to the next, I would say 7 to 10 max. I'm in the stretch where I'm not watering them at this point, but we have rain chances like every day. And the last thing you want toward the end of your onions growing in the ground is for them to get extra water. Here I was thinking that 6:30 was gonna feel cooler than last night, and it really doesn't. It is very humid, but we're going to knock off this. This is the one thing I really wanted to plant yesterday, but I was not going to do this last night. I'm going to level out this area a little bit. This is where the chickens were a few months back, and I'm just going to sprinkle a ton of zinnias over here and see what happens. This area is slightly shady, but I have noticed that there is a good amount of sun where I think that zinnias should do just fine over here. I haven't had much luck with a lot of stuff over midsummer in this area. That's why it's just kind of blank at the moment, but I have a bunch of zinnia seeds that I saved from last year that I figured, you know what, let's just give it a go, let's try, because it'd be really cool just to have a very big zinnia patch over here. I really just don't want to leave this ground bare, and that was the whole point in me thinking that I could just put a bunch of zinnias over here and lay some straw. Okay, so I have some zinnias here that I harvested last year that I'm just gonna break up. I also just grabbed some cosmos that I needed to deadhead, and we're just gonna make a combination in this little thing here. I have a few more zinnia seeds in here and cosmos. Let's see. That way we can kind of have some color. I think these seeds are pretty old. Yeah, these are from 2021, so they probably need to get used. So with a zinnia, you just pull back the petals, and that's your seed. Check out the little cantaloupe starting to grow. Here's another one. So a good amount of my poppies are dry, so I'm gonna get these harvested this morning. This is a breadseed poppy, and I grew these because I really wanted poppy seeds for culinary purposes. So I'm gonna play around with some poppy seed recipes. Nice little haul of some poppies. So these are the peppers I am most excited about this summer. These are those snacking peppers that you see at the grocery store that are orange, yellow, and red in little bags. And I got my hands on a variety pack of these from Johnny's this year, and my first few are ripening up. I also have a decent amount of paprika peppers I can go ahead and pick this morning too. These are some really, really pretty paprikas. A few of these lavender sprigs here. This is a variety called Elegance lavender, and I planted this because it's a first-year blooming lavender. Most lavender is a 2-year bloom, and unfortunately, lavender is kind of tricky here. It's technically a perennial, but sometimes our winters get a little too cold where I've had my lavender die off before it blooms. I've been harvesting carrots every here and there, and I'm gonna eat these ones fresh instead of preserving them for the week. My strawberries are starting to put on their second wave of berries, and they are looking so, so good. I need to plant these. I've been rooting them. It is a type of really tall grass that will be nice for some privacy. Hi. Big stretches for Sweeney. Hi. How are you? I know you've been missing outside, huh? Yeah. I'm gonna get my paprika peppers ready for the freeze dryer. My dehydrator creates a little bit more of a flake, and my freeze dryer gets it just a little bit more dry, where you get like a true powder. So I'm just going to get these washed. I'm going to cut them open, remove any of the seeds. I'm gonna lay them onto my freeze dry trays and get them into the freeze dryer. I just went ahead and went downstairs and turned on my freeze dryer so it could go ahead and get cool and ready to go. And let's get these peppers prepped. All right, let's get these into the freeze dryer. So for anyone new here, this is my temperature blanket where I crochet one row for every day based on the high temperature. This was a project I did all for 2023, and I decided to do one for 2024, and I'm currently getting June done. That way I can compare the halfway point of the year to last year's blanket come like the beginning of July. And these blankets have been so different. So last year I wasn't able to use every single color I have. So I have this color chart here that shows everything. And last year I wasn't able to use this bottom lilac-y color. And this year I was. And by the time we hit the halfway point, spoiler alert, I will be able to use every single color on this blanket so far this year, which is crazy considering last year we didn't. I'm really excited to compare these two once I get June done. I'm currently on June 19th, but the moment we hit June, we started to get very, very warm. I also need to weave in the rest of these ends. You can see I weaved in the ones right here, but I'm just going to work on this for a while since it's so hot outside. Got some more green beans this morning. Honestly, green beans you have to check so often because they grow so quickly. Yesterday, I did not pick up my camera for the rest of the day. I was exhausted, so I kept the day pretty low key. There are a few things I wanted to do today. I wanted to prune up a few things around here, but I also wanted to show you guys the onions. We are starting to have some onions flop over, and it's about to be onion harvesting time, which I'm so excited about. So I'm gonna show you guys the curing area because there's a few onions I already pulled, and we're gonna check some garlic this morning. I'm thinking that garlic is getting very, very close to being fully cured. There was a few garlic heads I pulled over the weekend so I could roast, and the smaller ones were completely cured. So I wanna grab one of my bigger ones and kind of see exactly where it's at. I need some garlic for dinner tonight, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But yeah, I'm probably going to go ahead and blanch and freeze some of the green beans since I picked some yesterday. We have a good amount where I can go ahead and get these into the freezer. So here's all of the onions. You can see they are really starting to not look as green or as pretty as they were, but these onions are definitely some of the best onions I have ever grown. This one right here is one of my biggest ones. And do you see that thing? It is amazing. I am so happy with these onions this year. So right here, I have one of the onions that has already completely flopped over. So this is the sign you want to see before you harvest your onions. These greens will flop over, and that is letting you know that it is ready to be pulled. So we have that one there, and then I believe I saw another one. Oh, here's another one right here. these tops have flopped over. I thought there was another one over here. Yep, there's another one right here. So you can see these tops just flopped over. And honestly, today isn't too hot, but tomorrow is actually really hot. Our high tomorrow is 104. So honestly, that heat's probably going to go ahead and clonk a good amount of these out because they are all looking ready. Just going to gently grab this. I'm gonna let that sit right there for a little bit, and then I'll come back out and grab it and put it on my rack. Before I mess with the garlic or the onions though, I'm gonna go ahead and get this grass planted that I showed you guys yesterday because it's gonna get hot pretty quick today. So this is just a really tall, I believe it's some type of native grass, can spread. So that's why I am putting it into these big pots. My husband's coworker gave us some of these cuttings and I've been rooting them at the moment. I think this is gonna be really nice just for extra privacy. It'll be nice that they're in pots too and I can kind of move them around and block out certain things if I want. But there's a sticker on this pot and it is really hard to get off. So I have a razor blade right here. I'm gonna try to get this sticker off. I don't understand why they put the thinnest stickers on stuff like this where it easily just gets stuck on. Oh, well, the razor works really well. Oops. Nice. I would normally pre-moisten soil, but this soil was already just fine. Nice. I've only ever rooted houseplants like this in water. Oh, actually, let me take that back. I have done this with tomatoes. I really did not know if this stuff was going to survive because it was just sitting in the heat. And you can see how much it really died back there. We'll just leave these over here. So when I was younger, everyone would always be like, what's your favorite color? And I would never like have an actual favorite color. It always just flip-flop. But over the years and gardening and all of that, my favorite color is green, mostly because of the garden and everything being alive. I just love the color green now. So green's my favorite color, if you're curious. So here is all of the garlic. I have lots of fans going, so sorry if it's kind of loud, but you can see everything is really dried out. So once all of this is cured, I will clean it up and I will store it in my basement. But these were some of the ones that were fully ready the other day when I was cooking. So I wanted to grab one of these bigger ones and see exactly where it might be sitting. And then on this side of the garage, I have my onion rack. This was something we built last year, very last minute, just out of some chicken fencing and some random wood we had laying around. This worked out so great. I just lay the onions right on top here and they're able to circulate. Ooh, yeah, we might actually be fully ready. So on hardneck, the one thing you're looking for is that stem portion right here to be solid white. If it's not ready, you'll actually have a green to it. But you can see that is completely ready to go. I just trimmed up the roots on it, cut it off, and cleaned it up. Let me turn that off for a second. Oh my gosh, that was obnoxious. Sorry you had to hear that. But yeah, this is looking like I will be cleaning up some garlic here over the next week. Let me try another variety real quick. Let's say, let's try an Italian purple. Oh yeah, this garlic's ready. is ready. It is fully ready. This one is completely ready to go as well. So I will probably be cleaning this up. I'll probably let it go the rest of the today. I don't have much time today to get this done, but this will be a project I will be working on very soon. Getting it all cleaned up and into the basement. I did do mostly hard necks, but this year I did do some soft necks, so I'm gonna play around with some braiding, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, it looks like the garlic is cured. This was faster than last year, but we've also been very dry for the month of June, so it doesn't really surprise me. We get the green beans all ready for the freezer. So I personally like to freeze my green beans. I'm not a fan of canned green beans at all, and I never have. I think freezing them just allows that really fresh flavor to come out, and that is one reason why I love growing green beans, and freezing them is so easy. So I'm gonna get these washed. I'm going to trim up all the woody ends on them, get them blanched in some boiling water for 2 minutes, followed by an ice bath for 2 minutes. That way they can stop cooking. And one thing I like to do with any vegetables that I freeze is lay them out on a cookie sheet in a flat layer. I'll actually put them into my one freezer so they can pre-freeze for about an hour or two. And this allows everything not to stick together in the freezer bag. That way I can just grab a few out at a time or a handful at a time, and I'm not having to like worry about anything. So I'm gonna show you this whole process. I'm just gonna get them all washed first, and then I'll start trimming. One of my favorite little hacks is to use my salad spinner whenever I'm doing any type of freezing or preserving, really. Like, I use this for all of my herbs. I run carrots through it, broccoli through it, green beans through it, and all it does is just help get some of that extra moisture off before I'm doing something like this where I'm pre-freezing, which I really, really like. Not too much, but there's still a good amount that comes off of those. The green beans are done, and I'm just going to get them packaged up into a freezer bag here. So one of my biggest tips when it comes to freezing is to partially close the bag and kind of shake out all of the beans or whatever you have in there into the flattest layer you can. This will also help be able to stack everything in the freezer really nicely. And then I like to take a straw here because I don't have a food saver or anything like that yet. And having air inside the bag can actually end up causing freezer burn if there's any like extra like water in that air and stuff. So I'm just going to suck out as much air as I possibly can from this bag. And then I pull out the straw, and as I'm pulling out the straw, I finish zipping all that up. I left my Sharpie downstairs. And then I'm just going to throw the date on this and get it into the freezer. All right, our paprika peppers are officially done in the freeze dryer, and I'm gonna get these into a blender and blend them up into paprika powder. Here's what the peppers look like once they are done being freeze dried. They just break apart very easily. One thing I've read when it comes to freeze drying states to not just let your freeze dry food sit out for extended periods of time. 5-10 minutes is completely fine, but the longer it sits out, it will absorb some of that moisture from the air since it is so dry. When grinding up any type of powder, make sure it settles a little bit before you just open it up, especially cayennes. I've definitely had too many sneezing fits in the past. So at the moment, you can see that the canning lid is bubbled. In about, I would say 30 minutes to an hour, that won't happen anymore. The oxygen absorber will suck anything else out there. But you can see just how nice of a powder the freeze dryer really does compared to just dehydrating. Here's some of my cayenne powder that I made from last year. And then this is some of the cayenne flakes that I dehydrated. So this is a dehydrated cayenne and this is a freeze-dried cayenne. I'm able to get a powder out of the freeze-dry and I'm able to get more of a flake out of my dehydrated. So I'm just going to date this because I do have, I think, one more paprika powder that I need to use up from last year. This will go into the basement. I have a little stash right here of some freeze-dried carrots and stuff that I need to take down, but I think this is where I'm going to end today's video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me over the last few days. I feel like this was a very random, sporadic vlog. I'll see you guys all next week. Bye.